Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. Welcome to Cafecito con HACE. Drop in the chat in the comment section where you are tuning in from and use this opportunity to network, to connect, and engage with one another. My name is Patricia Mota, and I serve as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing our community the insight, access, and support to be successful in their careers. And a few announcements. If you are looking for your next career opportunity, we've got a few ways to be able to connect with some amazing employers, including today with the CIA. Yes, this is a federal agency that has amazing opportunities. And so that link will be dropped in the comment section. We also have events in terms of our recruitment series focused on STEM careers, STEM fields, and that's taking place on October 25th. And if you're looking to connect with the coach, we have coaching sessions that are taking place on October 28th. So all of that information is on the HACE website. So be sure to tune in, get more information. And also, last thing, we'll talk a little bit more about today's conversation with our special guest is that tomorrow is Latina Equal Pay Day, meaning that it takes up until tomorrow for a Latina on average to be paid what her white male counterpart gets paid for the year before. That's almost another year later, another full year later, a loss of potential wealth, and we'll talk more about that. But there's still time for you to get involved and take action. We're partnering with Latina Equal Pay Day. We're partnering with the Justice for Migrant Women, the Labor Council for Latin American Advancements. And so there's a lot of great organizations, and make sure to get involved so that we can not only generate awareness, but also push to take action. And so without further ado, please join me in welcoming our special guest, Miriam Turbyfill, who is the Director, Sourcing Electromechanical Devices at GE Appliances. And also, she serves as co-lead for their ERG Latin Roots. Buenos dias, Miriam. How are you today?
Hola, Patricia. I'm very excited to be here and especially on such an important topic. And as you say, there is so much more just than create awareness, right? It's about taking action. So I'm very excited to be with you today and with this great audience. Thank you for having me.
Gracias, Miriam. We're super excited. And as you know, in Cafecito con HACE, and I'll ask our audience to join in on the fun too, how do you like your cafecito prepared or your morning beverage of choice?
Well, to me, I will say I'm from Mexico, so café con leche is my favorite. It's just like the perfect balance between bitterness, creaminess, and then if you have a little like pan or pastry next to it, it's just perfect.
Café con leche, that's a pretty popular one, even though from time to time we get, some unique pilots out there that in terms of their preferences. Those of you tuning in, please share with us, convene, connect, leverage this opportunity to network. Miriam, you mentioned you're from Mexico. Tell us about your cultural professional background, how you got to the role that you're at today, one of our partners at GE Appliances.
So I was born and raised in Mexico. And as you can imagine, Mexico is a country that has a lot of low wages, and that drives a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. So to me, since a young age, I was very set, and I didn't want that to define me. I wanted to be able to achieve my goals and, do whatever I wanted. And my goal at the time was I need to go to the best school and get a scholarship in engineering to make sure that my career was going to be successful. I got my scholarship. I got my industrial engineer degree, and that was the start really of my career. That allowed me to go and pursue the job I wanted. And And looking back to it, I have had a almost 20-year career in procurement, mainly. And right now I'm a sourcing director of the fastest growing appliances company. And it's been an enjoyable ride, and I keep looking forward on what is yet to come.
Miriam, for those of you who may not know what a sourcing director, because we've got folks that are probably early in their career, maybe students, to those further along, can you give us an overview of what that is and to our audience?
So sourcing director means that I have an amazing team behind me, and together we create the strategy on how we source the parts on every single component for the appliances, from a refrigerator to a laundry machine. So anything that is an electromechanical component, my team and I make sure we have the right supplier, the right cost, and obviously at the right time. So that's what I do every day with my team.
And I know our audience is perhaps inquisitive in Mexico, because we do have, as you can imagine, a lot of Mexicanos, whether they're first gen. ¿De dónde en Mexico?
Querétaro.
Querétaro. So I know we got some folks from Querétaro tuning in. So thank you for indulging. Those of you tuning in, share with us. Where are you from? Where's home? How do you identify? I think that's a beautiful thing that we love to do at HACE, is making sure that folks talk about their Latinidad and how diverse we are, right? My other question, Miriam, for you has to do regarding representation, decision making. It's so crucial for helping close this pay gap. And can you discuss, in your opinion, the importance of mentorship, allyship, and advocacy as it pertains to towards pay equity, towards opportunities? And the other thing I would say is that, you all helped us launch Mujeres de HACE in Louisville. We had our first ever Louisville, Kentucky Mujeres de HACE alum. So a quick shout out to all of them, because we've been following them, and it's been great to see all of the amazing work, advancements, not only in their career, but in the community, which is what Mujeres de HACE is all about. But would love your opinion and thoughts on that.
Well, first, yeah, you're right. We have many amazing women, right? And I think that takes each one of us to keep supporting each other and to keep growing together to make a difference. I completely agree with you. Mentorship, allyship, advocacy is so important to tackle the pay inequality. To your point earlier, according to the National Women Law Center, around for every 50 cents that a woman makes, her male white counterpart will make $1. Mm-hmm. So when you can think about that, how much is in a year during your whole career the gap is just huge, and we do need to do something about it. And while it's obviously not a immediate thing, the awareness and our everyday actions will hopefully influence that and get us on a better path for it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's super critical. It's a lot that's for the Latina, right, in terms of actions that need to be taken, but also from the employer side as well, right?
Yes, and I think it's a job that needs to be done together. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned mentorship, allyship, advocacy. I will also add probably a sponsorship, because the representation on the executive level for Latinas is almost, I wouldn't say non-existent, but it's very reduced. So that means that we do need to find a sponsor that will elevate our name when the opportunities come. So it's important to have also that in mind. Mentorship, to me, like, the first time I heard about it was when I started working here in GE. And to me, I wouldn't be where I am without mentors and without that people that is being, at every step along the way, helping me, developing skills, giving me confidence. We cannot do all this by ourselves. We have to have people on our corner that will be on our side and will help us to be better, because that's the only way that we're gonna close that gap and that difference. And
So
allies,
yeah.
you know, I think that we need to be allies and advocates for everyone, because it's not gonna be by itself, right? It's gonna be all together, and we have a responsibility to have a voice and give a voice to the people that cannot have it. So even though it will take a community, I also think that we are our best advocates. So it's important that we understand that, because we do have a voice, and we need to be able to speak up and to, you know, to fight for what is fair.
Yeah. Advocate for ourselves, right? I think that's one of the biggest components of our Mujeres de Asset program, where we spend time throughout a few of the sessions, whether it's on the personal finance, on the negotiation, is really what are the tools and the resources that you need to understand what the salary range should be. Maybe not saying yes to the first offer, right? Because we have a tendency, Latini, like culturally speaking, is to be grateful for, hey, I got the offer, I'm gonna take the first one instead of going back. And so there's a lot of things out there, not only just for the individual, but also right on the employer side. And the other reason I would add, Miriam, right, is that just recently the latest data was reported on the U.S. Hispanic Latino cohort, leading with it used to be 2.8, now it's 3.2 trillion GDP, meaning if this community were a country, would be the 5th largest in terms of GDP. And Latinas are leading the majority of that, you know, key decision makers as it pertains to this purchases, healthcare. And so it's a U.S. economic imperative that we ensure that not only are we helping the individuals, but also that policies within employers are being implemented to ensure that there's pay equity. So on that note, and those of you joining us, feel free, would love to see if there's any initiatives that you see going on, and of course would love to engage you with the Latina Equal Pay Day campaign. But Miriam, what initiatives or policies in your opinion can organizations implement to promote pay equity, not only for Latino women, but underrepresented groups? I know there's data on, you know, comparatively, when you break down the groups, that it's not just Latinas, there's other groups also.
Yeah. To me, is having a culture of transparency and accountability. I think that once you create that in the company, you will give the voice to the people, you know, to feel comfortable and raise questions, or you know, being able to ask the right questions. There is many things you also can do along the way, like you can do pay equity audits, making sure, especially in a large organization like I am, right, making sure that across the different organizations and across the different roles, you are paying what is right and what the market is also offering, right? Because you don't want to be, you want to offer to your people what is fair. Here at GE, we do a lot of bias training. We all have bias, you know, and it's important to be aware of that. And not that it's a bad thing, but it is important to know that it's there. So when you make decisions, it's based really on what the person accomplishments are, not so much on anything else. And having that awareness is very, very important. And I think that lastly for me is like, the salary range should be published. Everyone should be able to see, you know, this band, what it is, and going with eyes wide open, so you know where you fit, and you know what does it mean if you have a promotion versus not, and so on.
Yeah, I love that. And it's one thing for us to, as employers, right, have those recommendations and to take action. And there's another thing on in terms of that to be legislated, which is the other big component. There are some, you know, countries outside of the US that have legislated it for decades ago, and many of which that have reached gender parity, such as Iceland, right? It's smaller countries, but you look at some of the practices that are taking place. And so the other thing that I would add for those of you tuning in is that there's a petition going on with Latina Equal Pay Day to push for Congress to one, pass the the Paycheck Fairness Act. Two is to pass the Raise the Wage Act. When you look at Latina Equal Pay Day, we're looking at two numbers. One is full-time, and then there's one that's part-time Latina, and both of them obviously are still on the lower end of the totem pole. Three is to pass the Domestic Worker Bill of Rights. That includes, the restaurant workers, farm workers, and then four is to support rural Latinas through passing a bill that prioritizes health and safety. And so a lot out there. We're kind of peeling the onion back here. But again, I think that to Miriam's earlier point is not just about awareness, it's taking the action. And so I think that there's been a bigger partnership that's taking place with HACE, these other organizations like We All Grow is also part of it, that's really pushing this movement forward, so that, again, we're pushing people to actually take action this year. And so I know we've got a few minutes left. We'll take any questions if there are any for Miriam. And as we wait for a question or two, Miriam, anything that you're excited about with Latin Roots, so the ERG that you're now co-leading? So I know you're new, but what are you most excited about taking that leadership helm?
So since I took the co-lead for the ERG, I've been trying to change a little bit how the ERG interacts with the company. To your point earlier, we are a growing demographic, right? So I want to be kind of like a catalyst for the company to think, yes, we are good and we're the fastest growing appliance company, but at the same time, I want to make sure that they see the growth on the market that the Hispanic population is going to have in, 10, 20, 30 years. And I want to make sure that our ERG is bringing those ideas to the company, from new products to how to enhance the current products to our community. So we're heavily working on that. We want to create kind of a internal revolution on how that interaction is between ERGs and the company. And there is going to be a lot more to come, hopefully a lot of exciting new products and ideas that will set us apart from our competitors.
I love that. I think being able to tie the resource groups, or some companies call them affinity groups, business resource groups, ERGs, networks, you name it. But that is such a great tip and great direction for if you're not already doing it, right, is how are you tying it back to the business, right, of the organization to offer value as it's specific to the community, right? Because we have seen some case studies out there where there's some unique products. And Miriam, to your point, being such a young and fast growing demographic, like that's a business imperative at the end of the day, that we're tuning in and making sure that not only are we tuning in, but looking at the data and incorporating that along the way as well. So it's been great getting to know you, Miriam, hear your story. For folks that are tuning in, continue. If you drop it in the chat, we will share this with Miriam to be able to come back to later. It's on our LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube channels. But Miriam, my last question for you is, what are you most hopeful for, or a positive story that gives you hope for this year?
So generally, I'm a very positive person, right, and hopeful. But there was this story that made me smile this week. Kariko, who is a Hungarian American science, she won the Nobel Prize for medicine. She's the 13th woman in history to have won that. And she won that because of her work on mRNA develop, and all her work was instrumental in developing the COVID vaccine. And it was many 30 plus years of research, right? And where she find a lot of people kind of saying, no, you're working on the wrong thing and it's a waste of your time, but years later, if it wasn't because her work, we wouldn't have developed, or there wouldn't have been the vaccine against COVID. So the fact that a woman won it, and that her story is so much about resilience and making a difference, it just excites me to know that women can lead the change, and we just need to keep working at it, and we'll will be driving that.
Her research over, did you say like how?
Her research on mRNA.
I know, but for how many years did she have that
like
research?
30 plus years. Yeah.
Wow, and how it contributed to this monumental, product or resource for us, right?
Yes.
And given that all happened, I'm going to definitely look her up. That did give me the chills hearing the story. So thank you for sharing. Definitely brings us a lot of hope and positivity. Miriam, mil gracias. Thank you so much. And to everyone tuning in, hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone.
Muchas gracias, Patricia.
Bye-bye.
Bye.